Hello everyone and welcome back to our virtual Mishnah Berurah share. We are holding Mishnah Berurah Chilek Gimel, and Mirza Hashem today we will be learning Daf Mem Daled Amud Beis. We are continuing to learn Hilchos Shabbos, and we pick up today on the very bottom line of Mem Daled Amud Aleph, Siman Reish Samech Ches Sif Yud Aleph. Our learning should be a schus for Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael, Hanisunim Batzaru Bashivya, Ha'imdim Bein Bayam Ubein Bayabasha, Hamakim Yerachem Aleihem V'Yitzim Mitzaru L'Rvacha Me'afelu L'Oira U'Mishibud L'Geula Hashta Bagala V'Zman Kariv V'Nemar Amen. Our learning should also be a schus Refuah Shalema for Tzvi Ben Leah Miriam. I'm recording this share on the third day of Aseres Yimei Tshuva on Tzom Gedalia. And Mirza Hashem, we should be Zarcha, it should be Tichla Shana V'Kilul Loiseh, the previous year, and its Klalos, the bad happenings that Klal Yisrael experienced during that year. It should be Tichla Shana V'Kilul Loiseh. That year and its Klalos should be completed, and we should start a new year in Birchai with new brachas coming in a new year. Everyone certainly has to take advantage of the Aseres Yimei Tshuva for a time for introspection and Tshuva, and to see how we could improve for the coming year. And there's no better schus than limud HaTorah. So without further ado, bottom line, Mem Daled Amud Aleph, Sif Yud Aleph. We have been discussing here in Siman Reish Samech Ches the bracha that the Shliach Tzibor makes by Ma'ariv, the bracha Me'ein Sheva. The bracha Me'ein Sheva is the abridged form of Chazaras Hashatz that the Chazan says after the Shtilu Shmoneh Esrei of Ma'ariv Friday night. And we explained it's called the bracha Achas Me'ein Sheva because in that abridged Chazaras Hashatz, the Shliach Tzibor mentions, he alludes to every one of the 7 brachas of the regular Shmoneh Esrei, the Shabbos Shmoneh Esrei. It starts off, of course, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu v'Elokei Aviseinu Elokei Avram Elokei Yitzchak v'Elokei Yaakov Hakel HaGodel HaGibar v'Hanoira Kel Elyon Koinei Shamayim v'Aretz. That certainly is taken straight from the very beginning of every single Shmoneh Esrei. Then we say Mogein Avos Bidvaroi. So there, right away, we have an allusion to the first bracha of every Shmoneh Esrei, the bracha of Avos. Then we have Mechaye Mesim B'Ma'amaroi. So that's an allusion to the second bracha of Shmoneh Esrei, the bracha of Mechaye Mesim. Then we have Hakel HaKadosh. During this season, Shabbos Shuvah, it was Hamelech HaKadosh. That, of course, is an allusion to the third bracha of Shmoneh Esrei, the bracha of Kedushas Hashem. She'en Kamayu, Hameniach La'amoi B'yom Shabbos Kodshoy Kivam Rotza Lahaniach Lahem. That is an allusion to the fourth bracha of every Shabbos Shmoneh Esrei, the bracha of Kedushas Hayoim, the bracha where we mentioned Shabbos. Then we have Lefanav Navoid B'yirav Afachad V'noideh L'shmoi B'chol Yom Tamid Me'ein HaBrachos. This is clearly an allusion to the bracha of Avodah, the bracha of Ritzei, that always ends off as Sechazen Einenu B'Shuv Chalotziyim Barachimim. So Lefanav Navoid B'yirav Afachad, that's Ritzei. We're mispal for the Avodah to come back to the Beis Hamikdash. V'noideh l'shmai. Here we have moidim. Now we're going into the bracha of Hoidah. V'noideh l'shmai b'chol yom tamid me'en habrachos keil hoidos. And now finally we come to the 7th bracha of Shabbos Shmoneh Esrei, Berchas HaShalom, Adoin HaShalom. So this is the bracha Achas Me'ein Sheva. And we explained that Chazal wa Misakin, the bracha Achas Me'ein Sheva, which really is very strange. When do we ever have a Chazaras Hashatz by Ma'ariv? We never have a Chazaras Hashatz by Ma'ariv. Chazal wa Misakin the bracha Achas Me'ein Sheva because of an interesting situation that used to come up on Friday nights. Friday is a weekday. It's Erev Shabbos, but essentially it's a weekday. People would be working out in the fields, and sometimes you had people who had to work long hours, even though you're supposed to stop doing malacha rather early, but people were stuck, they were doing malacha, then they would come to shul late. If they came to shul late for Ma'ariv, they would be running behind the rest of the tzibur. And we were worried it could be that they will be in middle of their Shmoneh Esrei when everybody else finishes. And now this poor fellow this straggler who came late into shul, he's going to be stuck out in the shul, which we said was on the outskirts of the town. The Bate Knesios and the Bate Midrashos were out in the on the Sadeh for some reason, but he would be stuck out there. Everybody else is going to leave and go home. He's there all alone, and now he's going to have to walk home through the Sadahs, through the fields on the outside of town. He's going to walk home alone, and that's going to put him in sakana. So in order to prevent that from happening, Chazal wa Masakin, a short little Chazaras Hashatz after Ma'ariv, so that while the Chazan is saying this Chazaras Hashatz, the stragglers will have time to finish their Shmona Esrei, and they'll be able to go home with everybody else. That background brings us to Sif Yod Aleph, bottom line, Mem Daled Amud Aleph, says the Mechaber. Af b'Shabbos she'achar Yom Tov, even if you have a Shabbos that comes right after Yom Tov. Well, if Shabbos comes right after Yom Tov, that means that Erev Shabbos, Friday, was a Yom Tov day, like we just had now with Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah was Thursday, Friday, so Erev Shabbos was a Yom Tov. Now, if Erev Shabbos is a Yom Tov, that means nobody is working on Erev Shabbos. If nobody is working on Erev Shabbos, why should there be stragglers coming late to Ma'ariv? And if somebody did come late to Ma'ariv because he was a Posheya, we're not going to make a takana for him. We were making a takana because people came late through no fault of their own. But over here, there was no work on Erev Shabbos, so why should anybody come late? If nobody's coming late, why do we need a bracha achas me'ein sheva? Yet, says the Mechaber, af b'Shabbos she'achar Yom Tov, even when you have Shabbos coming on the heels of Yom Tov, Oimrim bracha me'ein sheva, he brings down over here that we still make the bracha achas me'ein sheva. He brings this down from the Rivash in a tshuva, and in the name of the Sefer Hamanig. Interestingly enough, I would have to look it up. My memory is that this is also a Rambam. That's my memory, but he doesn't bring it here from the Rambam. Maybe I'm mistaken. But in any case, the Mechaber says that you make the bracha achas me'ein sheva even when you have Friday was a Yom Tov. Now, why is that? So I just told you I think this is a Rambam. My memory is that it's a Rambam, and that the Rambam says that we do it because it was a takonas chazal. And if it was a takonas chazal, then we do it, it's like a loy plug. We do it under all circumstances. And that's going to come into play right away now in the next Sif. There's no Mishnah Berurah here on Sif Yud Aleph. Going to Sif Yud Beis, says the Mechaber Ein, and we turn now to Mem Daled and Beis, Ein lidaber b'shasha oimrim vayechulu. People should take great care. So b'ferish halach in the Mechaber put in a special Sif cotton in Shulchan Aruch for this. Do not speak, do not talk when the tzibur is saying vayechulu after the Sh'tol Shmona Esrei. Ein lidaber b'shasha oimrim vayechulu. V'loi b'shasha oimrim shliach tzibur bracha bein sheva. And do not speak when the shliach tzibur is making the bracha achas me'ein sheva. Now the truth is, you're never allowed to speak during Chazaras Hashatz. But over here, the Mechaber saw fit to put in a specific Sif cotton. Do not speak during Vayechulu, and do not speak when the Chazan is reciting the bracha achas me'ein sheva. Let's take a look at a fascinating Mishnah Berurah over here. Turning back to Mem Daled and Amud Aleph, Mishnah Berurah is cotton chafav. Ein lidaber. But Torah b'shem Sefer Chasidim, the Torah brings down in the name of the Sefer Chasidim. Maisa b'chasid echad. There was a Maisa with a chasid. Shera lechasid acher b'moisai, who saw in a dream another chasid who had already passed on. So he had a dream about a certain chasid who had already passed away. Upanav merikos, and that chasid, his face was greenish. His face had turned greenish. So he's seeing him in a chaloim, and he's seeing what he looks like in the Olam HaEmes, and his face is turned colors. His face is greenish. Amaloi lama panecha marikos. So he asked him, why did this happen to you? Why is your face greenish? Amaloi, he said to him, mipnei she'oyisi medaber b'vayechulu, because I was in the habit of speaking during Vayechulu. B'ashah shahaya hatzibur oimrim, I used to talk Friday night in shul when the tzibur was saying Vayechulu. After the Sh'tol Shmona Esrei, I used to talk. Uvemagen avos, and I used to talk during the bracha achas me'ein sheva. Ubi yiskadel, and I used to talk during Kaddish. And that's why, in Olam HaEmes, my face is green. Ad kan l'shoinoi. Mishnah Berurah says that is the lashon of the Torah in the name of the Sefer Chasidim. And again, this is because it's a Takanas Chazal and Mitzvah Lishmaya, Mitzvahs Chachamim, and sometimes we find that a Darabanan is even more Chamer than a Daraisa. There are times that we treat a Darabanan even stronger than we treat a Daraisa, because we say that the Divrei Chachamim tzrichin chizuk. We have to strengthen. Sometimes people look at it and they say, yeah, it's only a Darabanan. Especially something like this, where really nowadays, why do we have to have this bracha achas me'ein sheva? We don't seem to have this metzius where people are working in the field and therefore there are stragglers and they're going to come late and the shul is out in the boondocks and they're going to have to walk home alone. It doesn't seem very negayah to us. So why do we even make the bracha achas me'ein sheva? But we do make the bracha achas me'ein sheva. It's a takanas chazal, and therefore we have to treat it with the utmost respect. And to speak during it, it would be disrespectful. And because of that, this person turned green. Okay, moving along to Sif Yud Gimel, a very interesting Sif over here. Says the Mechaber, Im hispal shel choil. Let's say Friday night, somebody made a mistake, and when he davened his Shtilah Shmona Esrei, he davened a weekday Shmona Esrei, completely, from beginning to end. He davened a weekday Shmona Esrei. V'lo hizkir shel Shabbos, and he never mentioned Shabbos in his Shmona Esrei. Now, we learned earlier that if you daven a weekday Shmona Esrei during one of the Shabbos tefillos, and you don't remember at any point in the middle, you finish your entire Shmona Esrei and you daven a weekday Shmona Esrei, we learned the halacha that you have to daven over again. You aren't Yotze Shmona Esrei. You said the wrong Shmona Esrei. If you would have mentioned Shabbos at least, so fine, but you didn't even mention Shabbos, so you have to daven over again. Says the Mechaber a very interesting thing. In mispal shel choil v'lo yizkir shel Shabbos, if you davened a complete weekday Shmona Esrei and you never mentioned Shabbos, or another case, shelo yispal klal, you didn't daven a Ma'ariv Shmona Esrei at all. Maybe you came to shul very late and you haven't davened yet. V'shama mishliach tzibur bracha me'ein sheva, and now you listen to the shliach tzibur recite the bracha achas me'ein sheva me'rosh v'ad soif, from the beginning. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu v'Elokei Aviseinu. You listen to the shots from the beginning of bracha achas me'ein sheva all the way to the end of bracha achas me'ein sheva, to the closing, Baruch atah Hashem Mekadesh HaShabbos. You listen to the whole thing, Yotza, says the Mechaber, you Yotza. So you hear, very fascinating halacha. Basically, you did not daven a Friday night Shmona Esrei, because the two cases that the Mechaber gave us are either you davened a complete weekday Shmona Esrei, which essentially is worthless Friday night if you didn't mention Shabbos. You weren't Yotze Shmona Esrei, you got to daven over again. Or, second case, you mamish didn't daven at all. Now what you did was, you listened to the Shliach Tzibur recite the bracha achas me'ein sheva, and the Mechaber is very careful to say that you listened me'rosh v'ad soif, from the beginning, from Baruch, all the way through to Baruch atah Hashem Mekadesh HaShabbos, Yotza, Yotza Ma'ariv. You don't have to daven another Shmona Esrei. Very, very fascinating. Says the Mishnah Berurah over here, Ois Kot and Chav Zayin. V'shama mishliach tzibur. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Mishum de tfilas arvis rishus. Essentially, Ma'ariv is a lesser chiyuv than Shachris and Mincha. Shachris and Mincha, we hold, are a chiyuv. You are a chiyuv to daven, Shachris and Mincha. Ma'ariv, we learned, is really a rishus. Ma'ariv is more optional. Now, having said that, we've learned, and we've said it over many times, that we already want to makabel Ma'ariv on ourselves like a chiyuv. We don't treat Ma'ariv as a rishus. But me'ikar din, Ma'ariv is a rishus. Since Ma'ariv is a rishus, we could be more makel by Ma'ariv than we can by Shachris and Mincha or any other Shmona Esrei. So all over the place by Shmona Esrei, there's no halacha that if you skip Shachris on Tuesday, you could listen to the Shliach Tzibur say Shachris and be Yotze your Shachris. No, you have to daven your own Shachris. Tefillah is Rachamim. You need to say your own. You need to daven for yourself. You need to daven your own Shmona Esrei. You're not going to be Yotze with the Shatzes, with the Chazaras Hashatz. You missed Mincha. You got to daven your own Mincha. But by Ma'ariv, we could employ a kula over here, and we could say that by virtue of the fact that you listened to the bracha achas me'ein sheva, which essentially is a abridged Chazaras Hashatz, but it covers all 7 brachas of the Friday night Shemoneh Esrei, we're going to allow you to be Yoitza your Tfilas Ma'ariv by listening to the bracha Achas Me'ein Sheva. Now let's go to Mishnah Berurah's Chav Ches. Says the Mishnah Berurah Yotza, but says the Mishnah Berurah, and he brings this down from the Sefer Derech HaChaim, Ulechatchila yesh lizar loymar im hashliach tzibur mila b'mila. Lechatchila, if you're going to employ this kula, you davened the wrong Shemoneh Esrei, or you didn't daven Shemoneh Esrei at all, and you want to be yoytze with the shliach tzibur as bracha achas me'ein sheva, lechatchila, you have to recite it together with the shliach tzibur, mila b'mila, word by word, min tchilas habracha, from the beginning of the bracha, ad soif baruch atah Hashem mekadosh Shabbos. Now this is very interesting. Let's continue the Mishnah Berurah. So the first thing the Mishnah Berurah says is, you want to employ this kula? You want to cover your Friday night Ma'ariv Shemoneh Esrei with the bracha Achas Me'ein Sheva? Not enough to just listen to the Shliach Tzibur. Lechatchila, you have to repeat it with the Shliach Tzibur, word by word. V'im kvar amar Shliach Tzibur. Now let's say you already missed the boat. You davened the wrong Shemoneh Esrei, or you didn't daven any Shemoneh Esrei. The Shliach Tzibur, he already said bracha Achas Me'ein Sheva. Too late. Tzarech lachzor l'spal. Now, there's nothing you can do. You have to daven over again. You need to daven your own Shemoneh Esrei. V'lo yoymar b'yochid birchas me'ein sheva. Don't think that you could now go say bracha achas me'ein sheva on your own and cover your own Shemoneh Esrei. That you can't do. So this is very, very fascinating what we're seeing over here. You davened the wrong Shemoneh Esrei, or you davened no Shemoneh Esrei. The Mechaber is giving us an eitzah. You could listen to the shots, say the bracha achas me'ein sheva, and you could cover your Ma'ariv Shemoneh Esrei by listening to him say the bracha achas me'ein sheva, as long as you listen to every word from beginning to the end. Comes along the Mishnah Berurah, and the Mishnah Berurah says, lechatchila, that's not enough. You should say the bracha achas me'ein sheva together with the shliach tzibur. Okay, so now you are actually saying the bracha achas me'ein sheva. Well, then let's take that to the next step. Let's say you missed the shliach tzibur. He already said the bracha achas me'ein sheva. Could you go say a quick abridged Shemoneh Esrei? Could you recite the bracha achas me'ein sheva on your own and be yoitza with that? No, that you can't do. Why not? I mean, did the Chavetz Chaim just say that in order to gain the benefit of the bracha achas me'ein sheva, you have to actually say it? Yes, he did. But it only works if you say it with the shliach tzibur. It doesn't work if you say it on your own. You can't cover your Friday night Shemoneh Esrei by saying bracha achas me'ein sheva on your own. You have to say it together with the shliach tzibur. Going through the achronim and the paiskim over here, what seems to be at play over here is the following. Bracha achas me'ein sheva was not a takana for individuals to say. The Chazal were never misaken that individuals should recite bracha achas me'ein sheva. Therefore, bracha achas me'ein sheva is not available to you. You missed your own Shemoneh Esrei. You can't cover your own Shemoneh Esrei by reciting bracha achas me'ein sheva, because Chazal were never misaken bracha achas me'ein sheva to be used by a yachid. It's only to be used by a shliach tzibur, and it makes sense. It was for the benefit of the tzibur. It was something that was supposed to be recited in a tzibur to help the stragglers, but it was never a takana for yichidim, so it's not available to you. Okay, but if the shliach tzibur says it, and you listen to the shliach tzibur say it, and the mechaber was very careful to say that you have to listen to every word from beginning to end, so then you could be yoitza with his recitation. You're not being yoitza with your recitation. You're being yoitza with his recitation. Comes along the Mishnah Berurah, and the Mishnah Berurah says from the Sefer Derech HaChaim that really it's not enough to just listen to him. You have to say it together with the shliach tzibur. Why? The answer is because, like the Mechaber said, you have to listen to every single word from beginning to end. Not only do you have to listen to every single word from beginning to end, you have to have kavanah by every single word from beginning to end. When the Mechaber says you need to listen, he doesn't mean just listen. He means listen b'kavanah. Say the paiskim, It's very hard for a person to make sure that he listened and had kavana by every single word unless he also recites it. Now, we said that you can't recite the bracha achas be'en sheva and be yoitza. No, but you're not. You're being yoitza with the shliach tzibur's recitation of the bracha achas be'en sheva. You're saying it along with him to ensure that you're going to have kavana on every single word that he says. But you're being yoitza with his recitation, not with your recitation. That's why, yes, you could be yoitza with his recitation. Yes, says the Mishnah Berurah, you should say it together with him word by word. But could you do it with your own recitation without the shots? That you can't do. The Gra adds in the Bir Gra, one other piece over here that gives us a little bit of a broader understanding. The Gra learns up the Gemara. When the Gemara says that Chazal wa mesakin bracha achas be'en sheva for the stragglers, the way I explained it to you is the way people generally understand it, which is we were afraid somebody's going to come late to shul. He's going to be in the middle of the shtul shmon esrei when everybody else leaves. He's going to be caught alone in shul, and he's going to have to walk home alone. So in order to protect him, we had the shliach tzibur say this bracha achas be'en sheva to drag out davening a little. Now that davening is going to be dragged out a little, the straggler is going to have time to finish his shmon esrei. He'll be able to go home with everybody else. That's not the way the Gra learns the Gemara. You know how the Gra learns the Gemara? The Gra learns like this. The Gra says that a straggler who comes to shul late Friday night never davened his own shmon esrei. If he came late, he wouldn't daven shmon esrei. Chazal wa mesakin bracha achas be'en sheva, so the shliach tzibur could be moitzi the stragglers with their shmon esrei, so that they shouldn't have to say a shmon esrei, and they shouldn't get caught late, and they shouldn't have to walk home alone. Once you see that Gra, now it's also easier to understand how we're suggesting over here that you could cover your shmon esrei with the shmon esrei with the chazaras hashatz of bracha achas be'en sheva, because the truth is that was part and parcel of the takana. Part and parcel of the takana of bracha achas be'en sheva was that the shliach tzibur is going to be moitzi the stragglers. So okay, if he could be moitzi the stragglers, he could also be moitzi you if you made a mistake and you davened the wrong shmon esrei. So that gives us another layer of understanding over here. Okay. Continues the Mishnah Berurah over here. Gam nachain adavar, it also would be proper, shem nizkar koinim sheshama meshliach tzibur bracha hanal, that if you realize that you davened the wrong shmon esrei, or you didn't daven shmon esrei yet, and the shliach tzibur is not yet ready to start the bracha achas be'en sheva, shelo yisbach hazeh. Don't rely on this eitzah of being yoitza with the bracha achas be'en sheva from the shliach tzibur. Rak yispal oidapam tefillah sheva kiseder. Rather, you should take a daven your own full shmon esrei. Ki yesh cholkin al ikra din zeh ayin b'tur, because the Torah brings down that there are rishonim that disagree with this whole halacha, and they hold that you can't be yoitza with the shatz's bracha achas be'en sheva. Okay, now let's look to Siman Reish Samach Tes. Din hakiddush bebeis hakneses u'bay sif echad. The halacha regarding making kiddush in shul Friday night. This brings me back to my childhood, growing up in Borough Park in this Farshah Shul on 14th Avenue. This was the minhag. Friday night after davening, the gabbai made kiddush, and I was the tinuk that drank the wine. So this siman over here really brings me back to my childhood. Says the Mechaber Sif Aleph. Noi hagin lekadesh bebeis hakneses. The minhag was to make kiddush in the Beis HaKnesses, to make kiddush in shul Friday night after Ma'ariv. But ve'ein lemekadish litoim miyayin hakiddush. But the one who makes the kiddush should not drink the wine, and we'll see why in a moment. Ella rather matimai lekatan. Instead of drinking it, he should give it to a katan. We're going to see it means a katan she'igia lechinuch. The way the Mishnah Berurah comes out, it should be a katan who's at least 6 or 7 years old, so he's already higia lechinuch. Continues the Mechaber. Why? Why shouldn't the one who's making kiddush just drink the wine? Explains the Mechaber, because you have a problem over here. Dein Kiddush Elabamakum Suda V'ayin L'Kabon Siman Reisha Ein Gimel Siftal. We're going to learn later on, Bez Hashem Yisparach, in Siman Reisha Ein Gimel, the halacha of Ein Kiddush B'Makom Suda. Kiddush is based on the pasuk V'karasa L'Shabbos Einig. You have to declare Shabbos an Einig, a delight. V'karasa L'Shabbos, to declare Shabbos, that's Kiddush. When you make Kiddush, you are declaring and proclaiming that it is now Shabbos. And what does it say? V'karasa l'Shabbos einig. You should do it, and it should be an einig. The einig is the Suda. Einig Shabbos, that's the Suda. So v'karasa l'Shabbos einig. You karasa l'Shabbos, you make Kiddush b'mkaim einig. You do it by the Suda. That's where the halacha comes from. This is a Gemara in Psachim Kuf Aleph. I'm thinking Kuf Aleph. This is a Gemara in Psachim, Ein Kiddush Ela B'Makom Suda. So now, this person, the Gabbai, let's say, is making Kiddush in the Beis HaKnesses after Ma'ariv Friday night. Is that where he's eating his Suda? No, he's eating his Suda at home. He's not eating his Suda in Shul. So how is he making Kiddush? Now that brings up a very critical problem. You're not being Yotzei Kiddush. So if you're not being Yotzei Kiddush, how are you making Kiddush now? You shouldn't be making Kiddush now. Okay, but we're going to see there's a reason for the minhag to make Kiddush. So, and if you're not Yotzei Kiddush, how could you drink the wine? You're not allowed to drink anything before Kiddush. You are not Yotzei Kiddush, because ain't Kiddush Ela B'Makom Suda. So what do? So the answer is, you make the Kiddush, you don't drink the wine, but now if you don't drink the wine, the bracha is the bracha of HaTorah. No, you have a tinuk. You give the tinuk the wine, the tinuk drinks the wine. So now the bracha that you made was for the tinuk. It wasn't a bracha of HaTorah. And the tinuk drank the wine based on your bracha. So it's not a bracha of HaTorah. I don't think I said that very clearly. So let me just try that again. Let's just make it very concise. We're going to see that there was a reason why they would make this Kiddush Friday night in Shul. Who's making the Kiddush? So let's say the Gabbai is making the Kiddush. Is he going to be Yotzei Kiddush now? No, he's not going to be Yotzei Kiddush now. Why? Because ain't Kiddush Ela B'Makom Suda, and he's not having his Suda now. So he's not going to be Yotzei Kiddush. But he's making Kiddush. Now, if he's not Yotzei Kiddush, he can't eat and he can't drink. So how's he going to drink the wine? So he can't drink the wine. But if he's not going to drink the wine, then the Bori Pri HaGofen is a bracha of HaTorah. So what do? How do you make a Bori Pri HaGofen as a bracha of HaTorah? You give the wine to the tinok to drink. You made the HaGofen for the tinok drank. So now the Birchas HaNenin of the Bori Pri HaGofen is not a bracha of HaTorah. Now you'll ask me a question. I told you how the bracha of Bori Pri HaGofen is not a bracha of HaTorah. But how about the bracha of Kiddush? Asher Kiddusharu b'mitzvahs v'ratzavanu. Why isn't that a bracha of HaTorah? I just said he's making Kiddush, but he's not being Yotzei Kiddush. So why isn't that a bracha of HaTorah? The answer is because the rule is mevarchen al haminig. You're allowed to make a bracha based on a minig, a serious minig. So you're allowed to make a bracha now because the minig was to make Kiddush in the shul. So even though you're not being Yotzei Kiddush, mevarchen al haminig, you're allowed to make the bracha. The problem is the Birchas HaNenin of Bori Pri HaGofen. He can't drink the wine because he's not Yotzei Kiddush, he's not allowed to drink. So you give it to a tinok, and that takes care of the problem of the bracha of HaTorah on the Birchas HaNenin. So again, let's just read it inside in the Mechaber from the beginning of the Sif. Naihagen lekadish bebeis haknesses. The minig was to make Kiddush in the shul Friday night after davening. But ve'ein lemekadish litoy miyayin hakiddush. But the one who makes Kiddush should not drink the wine from the Kiddush. Why? Because he's not Yotzei Kiddush. And if he's not Yotzei Kiddush, he can't drink the wine. Ela matimai lekatan. Rather, he should give it to a katan to drink. Why is he not Yotzei Kiddush? Then Kiddush Ela B'Makom Suda. Because he's not having his Suda now. He's not having his Suda here in Shul. So ain't Kiddush B'Makom Suda, so he's not Yotzei Kiddush. V'ayin l'kaman Siman Reisha and Gimel Sif Dalet. Now explains the Mechaber, so why are you making this Kiddush? Says the Mechaber, Umei Karoloi Niskan Ela b'shvil orchim the achli v'shasi bebei kenishta lohitziam yedei chayvasan. The root of this minig was there was a day and age where guests would come to town and they would come to the shul Friday night and they would eat a suda in the shul. So the Gabbai made Kiddush in the shul to be moitzi the orchim who are going to eat in the shul. But the Mekadosh wasn't eating in the shul. Says the Mechaber, V'akshav, and nowadays, Avagav deloy achli archim bebekinishna loy batla takana. Nowadays, even though this isn't the minig anymore, nobody ate. No archim came to the Svarsh Shul of 40th Avenue in Borough Park and ate their Suda there Friday night, and yet they made Kiddush. So now you're making this Kiddush because it was an old minig that was based on a day and age when you made Kiddush to be moitzi archim that were going to eat a Suda. But now you're making Kiddush and you're not being moitzi anybody who's eating a Suda. So the Kiddush is really baseless. It's a Kiddush that you're making shaloi b'makom Suda, so you're not yoitzi Kiddush. You're not going to drink the wine. You have to give it to a tiddig. It's very strange. Says the Mechaber, Zehu tam ha'mekomi shenog u'lekadosh b'beis hakneses. This is the basis for the places where they had the minig to make Kiddush in shul. Aval yoser toiv lahanik shaloi lekadosh b'beis hakneses. But the Mechaber says it is better to fear ayin the minig not to make Kiddush in the shul Friday night. The Chain minig Eretz Yisrael, and that's the minig in Eretz Yisrael not to make Kiddush in shul Friday night. Hagos says the Ramah, v'nagu la'amid b'shosha mekadshe b'beis hakneses. Sounds from the Ramah like it was the minig in his day and age, because he's pointing out that the minig is to stand when they make the Kiddush in shul. So obviously they were making Kiddush in shul. Okay, let's go to the Mishnah Berurah here. It says the Mishnah Berurah, Eis Katan Aleph. The Mechaber said, what do you do with the wine? The one who's making Kiddush can't drink the wine because he wasn't Yotzei Kiddush. Since he wasn't Yotzei Kiddush, he can't drink. So what do you do with the wine? You give it to a tinuk. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Hine. Yesh, there are those that say, Sheyizar litain rak lekatan shelo yigil lechinuch. There are those that say that you should give the wine to a cotton that's not higil lechinuch. Why? Very simple. Because you're in a catch-22 here. If it's a cotton that was higil lechinuch, then he's old enough that you have to train him properly in mitzvahs, so then he's also not allowed to drink the wine, because he also wasn't Yotzei Kiddush. Same way you can't drink the wine because you weren't Yotzei Kiddush. If you have a child, a cotton that's higil lechinuch, how are you giving him the wine to drink? He wasn't Yotzei Kiddush. So how are you giving him the wine to drink? So there are those that say, give it to a cotton that's not higil lechinuch. But the Magen Avram says, no, that's also a problem. Aval Magen Avram kasa b'shem ha'poskim, the multer litein afilu l'cotton shehigil lechinuch. No, give it to a cotton that is higil lechinuch. Hainu kabar shis, kabar sheva, a kid who's 6 or 7, kol chayla from chorfei. Each kid you have to know how smart and sharp he is. V'adarabah, says the Magen Avram, im yiten rak l'cotton shelo higil lechinuch. If you give it to a kid who's not higil lechinuch, yeh birchas hamavarach levatala. Then you didn't solve your problem. Your whole problem is that the Birchas Hanenin that you made, the bracha of Hagofen, is going to be a bracha levatala if nobody drinks the wine. Well, if you give the wine to a 3-year-old to drink, the 3-year-old is allowed to drink without a Hagofen, because he's not a Gil Chinuch. So then you can't say that the bracha of Hagofen went for him. He doesn't need a bracha of Hagofen. So says the Magen Avram, no, you have to give the wine to drink to a cotton who is Higil Chinuch. That's why he needs a Hagofen. So your Hagofen went for him, and your Hagofen wasn't the bracha levatala. But what do you do with the other problem? Now you're taking a kid who's Higil Chinuch, and you're giving him wine to drink when he wasn't Yotzei Kiddush. How do you solve that problem? Says the Mishnah Berurah, you're not allowed to give a cotton who's a gil lechinuch. You're not allowed to give him to eat something that it's also for him to eat. So how are you giving him wine to drink without kiddush? The Magen Avram brings down a whole slew of reasons why over here it's mutter. Says the Mishnah Berurah, for this reason, you're also allowed to give young children breakfast Shabbos morning to eat before Kiddush. Even a cotton who's higil lechinuch. So what do you mean? They need Kiddush. You're allowed to give them to eat even without Kiddush. You're allowed to give them to eat. And not only that, says the Mishnah Berurah, you're not allowed to make them suffer and tell them, nope, you got to wait till daddy comes home to make Kiddush. You can't do that. Of course, if you have extra wine, so let them make Kiddush. Kasra Achreinim, the Achreinim write, Dem ein cotton shegiel lechinuch bebeis hakneses. What do you do if you have the minhag to make Kiddush in the shul? So the Gabbai makes Kiddush, and you don't have a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old, an 8-year-old. You don't have a cotton shegiel lechinuch to give the wine to drink. What do you do then? So says the Mishnah Berurah, I'll tell you what you do. Azai yishte kishir revius. Let the one who makes kiddush drink at least a revius of yayin. Sheyehi choshev bimkaim suda. Kabasha kasa siman reisha and gimel sefei v'yoytza bazeh. We're going to learn in siman reisha and gimel. Ein kiddush ela b'makom suda. But if you drink a revius of yayin, that could constitute a suda. So now it is kiddush b'makom suda. So you don't have a child to give the wine to, make kiddush, and make sure that you drink at least a revius of yayin. So now you had kiddush b'makom suda. V'yavarach akakach bracha achroina. Of course, now you're going to have to make a bracha ala gefen because you drank a revius of yayin. And v'yakshay b'daitay lotzeis b'kiddush zeh. And you should have in mind that you're really making kiddush and you're really being yoytze kiddush. Therefore, you're allowed to drink the revius of yayin. And it's not a problem of ein kiddush ela b'makom suda, because it is b'makom suda, because you're drinking a revius of yayin constitutes a suda. In Siman Reisha and Gimel, the Mechaber is going to say, when we say ein kiddush ela b'makom suda, it doesn't mean that that's where you have to have your gefilte fish and your chicken soup and your roast chicken and your potato kugel. It means that you have to have at least something that constitutes a suda. So if you have a kazayis of cake, that's a suda. You had a revius of yayin, that's a suda. Now, don't worry, the Gabbai could still go home and make kiddush for his family because they weren't yotze kiddush, so you're allowed to make kiddush for them. Now, there's a very interesting question that comes up, it just jumps off the page. If there's such a simple eitzah over here, why are we jumping through hoops to give the wine to a child? And we're trying to figure out, should we give it to a 3-year-old or should we give it to a 6 or 7-year-old? Why don't we just say that the minhag is to make kiddush in the Beis HaKnesses Friday night after Ma'ariv, and Yizoher HaMekadesh, the Mekadesh should be careful to drink a revius. Why? Because in order to be Yotze Kiddush, Ein Kiddush ela b'makom suda, so you have to drink a revius of the yayin, so that it should be a suda, and then now you're covered. You don't have any shaila of rachel of HaTorah, not on the kiddush, not on the bari pri hagafen, you don't need a child, you don't need anything. If it's such a simple eitzah, what's the problem? I think the answer is that, Mir Hashem, when we'll learn Siman Reisha and Gimel, we'll see, first of all, the idea that you could drink a revius of yayin and call that kiddush b'makom suda is a machlokes rishonim. There are rishonim that hold that does not constitute kiddush b'makom suda. Second of all, even according to the rishonim that it does constitute kiddush b'makom suda, we're going to see that there are those that hold that that's only true if you drink a revius besides the revius of kiddush. Not that you make kiddush and you drink the revius of the kiddush. No, you have to drink the revius of kiddush and you have to drink another revius. So this eitzah would already need what back in the day was considered a lot of wine. They didn't have all of this extra wine. So this wasn't such a geshmak eitzah. First of all, it's tali on a machlokes rishonim. Second of all, could be you need 2 revius in of yayin, not just one. So this wasn't a delicious eitzah. And that's why they gave a different eitzah. Give the yayin to a tinoik to drink. As far as the details of kiddush b'makom suda, could you be yoytze with a revius of yayin? Not. We're going to save the details of that for Siman Reisha and Gimel. There's a lot of layers of complexity over there. We'll deal with it in Mir Hashem then. Ois cut and base. The Mechaber say ein kiddush ela b'makom suda. Hainu, what does this mean? Ein kiddush ela b'makom suda. Hainu de'ena mekadesh yoytze b'kiddush zeh kevin she'ena b'makom suda asay. The one who's making kiddush can't be yoytze with this kiddush in shul, because it's not kiddush b'makom suda. That's not where he's having his suda. Misham hachi asa lo litam klum achi kiddush b'makom suda asay. That's why he has a problem that he can't drink the wine. He can't drink the wine because he wasn't yoytze kiddush. He wasn't yoytze kiddush because ain't kiddush ela b'makom suda. If he can't drink the wine, what do we do with the bari pri hagafen? How do we prevent it from being a bracha of HaTorah? Give it to a cotton. Ois cotton gimel b'bei knishta. This whole takana is rooted in the idea that back in the day, orchim, guests, used to come to town, and they used to eat their suda in the shul, so this kiddush was intended to be moitzi them in kiddush. Right away, jumps up the Mishnah Berurah, hold it, we're talking about eating the Shabbos suda in the shul. Are you allowed to eat a Shabbos suda in a Beis HaKnesses? Says the Mishnah Berurah, Ayin le'el b'sim kuf non aleph sefalef b'Mishnah Berurah, mash kasavdu bazeh. We discussed this over there in Siman kuf non aleph, why it's mutter for the orchim to eat the Shabbos suda in a Beis HaKnesses. Like this, typically you're not allowed to eat in a Beis HaKnesses. This Kiddush was originally intended to be Moitzi the Orchim in their Chiv of Kiddush. Even though the one who's making the Kiddush is not Yoitze Kiddush, because for him it's not Kiddush B'Bakum Suda, Moitzi es Acherim, he still could be Moitzi the Orchim. Siman Reisha and Gimel, to be Kiddush Yachal of Arch La'acherim Afal Pisha Ena Oichel Imayim, that by Kiddush there's a halacha, you could be Moitzi other people in Kiddush, even if you yourself are not going to be Yoitze with this Kiddush. Ois Cotton Hay, Mechaber said it would be better to fair ein the minig not to make this Kiddush in shul. Shaloi lekadesh, says the Mishnah Berurah of a Medina Seinu noyagin lekadesh bebeis hakneses b'Shabbos v'Yom Tov. In our Medina, says the Mishnah Berurah, the minig was to taka make Kiddush Friday night and Yom Tov night in shul. Melavad b'leil rishon shel Pesach, with the exception of the first night of Pesach, ein lekadesh bebeis hakneses. Then you don't make Kiddush in shul. Why? Because the reason for the minig doesn't apply. The reason for the minig is, the original reason for the minig was that there would be guests, and the guests don't have wine, and you need to be moitzi them in their chiv of Kiddush. But Pesach by night for the Seder, everybody has wine. Because if they don't have wine, the tzibur is mechuyev to give them wine. So they're going to be able to make their own Kiddush. So then there's no reason for the Gabbai to make a Kiddush in the shul to be moitzi them. Says Mishnah Berurah, Umahadrin Acher Yayin, you should use wine for this Kiddush and Shul in the Beis HaKnesses Friday night, not Chamar Medina. V'nagin liktois pedamim hamitzvah mishayitin yayin lebeis HaKnesses l'kidusha va'avdalta. The minig became to sell the right to supply the wine for Kiddush and Havdalah. And we say that in the Mishnah Berurah before Musaf on Shabbos. Ve'en levatal minig, and you shouldn't be bevatal this minig. Ki harbe ga'onim yisadu k'may shekasaf harashba, because this, I said it was a Tanas Chazal. It's a takanas ha'ga'onim to make this Kiddush and Shul Friday night. I'm remembering now, this is the Rambam that I alluded to earlier. It's the Rambam that says that on this, he says it on the minig of Kiddush in Shul Friday night, that even though the basis of the minig doesn't seem to apply anymore, once it was a takanas ha'ga'onim, that's what we do. La'amoid v'amra rishonim, the Ramah said that you should stand. V'amra rishonim shezemoyel la'ayefos haberkayim. Standing by the Kiddush in shul is like a skula, I guess, for ayefos haberkayim, for those that are weak-kneed. This schus of standing by the Kiddush will help them. Thank you so much for joining me for limud HaTorah. The schus of limud HaTorah should be making against Klal Yisrael. The Rosh Hashanah should send Yeshua's for us, Parnassus, and Shidduchim to all those in need. We should be zeicher to see the B'Yisrael Tzedek, B'Meher V'Yameinu. Amen. Be well.